But here's another one that I thought was very neat. I believe it was Domino's. I think it's in Decentraland. Domino's has a piece of land, and they built the Domino's there. And so without leaving Decentraland while you're wearing your headset,
my God,
you can order the pizza to your house and never have to actually take off your headset. So you can be playing the game, and you can go to Domino's and actually place a real order at your local.
And it still arrives in 20 minutes.
And it still arrives within 20 minutes and shows up at your door. The whole works. But you do it right through the game. So you don't have to take off your headset to open the app or phone call them. You can just go there and deal with somebody through that. So it has some serious application, and I can more and more see the value in some sense on how it's going to impact things. And so,
well, it's going to ruin humanity, right? So there's that.
It's going to change humanity. There's some things in general that the VR has some strong. Chandler's looking at me very concerned. I see both ends of it. Again, my concern sometimes is like you said, do people need like the unit sizes? Do people need bigger units? Are units going to shrink in size? Does location matter anymore? Right now, everything's location, and we're spending all this time, effort, and money to get into these tight downtown cores. But if you can do your office job from anywhere in the world,
which is increasingly common,
and you can maintain contact with your friends anywhere in the world.
Do you have the Zuckerberg thing too? Can you cue that up? Just while we're doing this.
Then why would you need to be in a certain location?
Yeah, I mean, and if people haven't watched Zuckerberg's Metaverse video,
check it out.
It is worth checking out. It'll make you nauseous a little bit. But he speaks to that point of like, well, you can work from home, but also like we can create a space. Like, look at this pumpkin pie haircutted freak. Like you can create a space that feels either one like your actual office, or why make it feel like your actual office? Make it feel like an office that's way better. And we're all here interacting. And then there's these examples like, all right, we're all sitting around here playing cards. And then there's this super like hyper real moment where someone in the metaverse gets a video call from
the real world.
But like in the metaverse, they get the call, which is like some layers of hyper real stuff that I can't even get into right now. But
it's where they're trying to integrate it with real life.
But it's escapism. At the end of the day, man, it is escapism, and that's what I'm concerned about. My kids have been playing this game online called Roblox, and I never thought anything of it because it's not that impressive looking of a game. And as far as I could tell, they just like wander around, but they find it cool because they can both wander around together in the same area. And the other day they were like, oh, come over to my house. I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like they just sort of think they have a house in this little spot. And they're 6 and 10 to put in perspective. And this was weeks leading up to this whole metaverse thing. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of similar to what they're doing. So I looked into Roblox, and I found a stat that over 50% of kids under the age of 15 play, i.e. present tense actively, Roblox in the US. And so some of those kids are under 4 years old. So really between 10 and 15, it's probably more like 67% of kids are playing Roblox.
Yeah.
And it's another like free design, player created content, and the challenge they've had is like, then some guy opens a strip club in like the metaverse or in Roblox, or there's these chat things where all of a sudden some people are chatting to children on there. And so now they've built this whole infrastructure to try to limit some of these things, but it's a challenge. And I think it's just bad for humanity. Like we are already becoming increasingly extroverted. No one wants to even make a phone call. Everyone's like, oh, I'll text, but heaven forbid.
Yeah, I don't make phone calls.
A phone call comes through, and people are having way less sex now. Like under 30, like the amount of sex people under 30 are having is dropping steadily. And the reason is because they're in these VR situations. Instead of going out in there in the real life and meeting people, all the apps in the world designed to meet, mingle, and fornicate, and these nerds are in their VR systems, instead. And so people aren't even having sex as much anymore. Like this is.
They're going to create suits so you can have virtual sex.
I know they're going to create suits to have virtual sex. I think that's a big part of what the metaverse.
You're going to be able to pay like $10,000 to sleep with Megan Fox.
Well, you happen to know that the gloves are already in the works. I don't want to know what those gloves do, and I hope they're washable. But like, I just can't imagine this sort of escapism from reality is a good thing. It's very, very and then I came to love Big Brother because I can put on this headset and all of a sudden all my problems go away. I mean, who cares that we, burn the earth to a crumble? Not in the metaverse. Like, we'll just pop in there and, the rainforest still exists in the metaphor, so we'll just ruin it out here in the real world. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel this is a slippery slope.
As you can tell, Chandler's all on board for the metaverse. He's already ordered his headset.
I do like the idea of buying some real estate there and making money off it.
And this is what I wanted to quickly touch on, was making money in the metaverse. Now, I agree with everything you're saying. Unfortunately, I believe that the forces at play that are putting this into action are stronger than really anything we can touch.
Totally.
And I think the natural human desires and pleasure and enjoyment that'll come from it will take it over. Right, like how kids are so addicted to these games already, like Roblox, Fortnite.
Yeah, well, they're training them at a young age now, right?
Exactly, and all of these games, Grand Theft Auto, and Grand Theft Auto has been the most successful game for the last 20 years. Before really, a lot of other big giant world-based games were, Grand Theft Auto has been huge for this reason, that people can reinvent themselves in this world and do whatever they want. So I agree with you that it's going to have a negative impact on our world. But I think more so for me, I'm more like eyes wide open. How do we make money from this?
Yeah.
And I try to do some research. Obviously, there's a bunch of different ways in actually investing in the real estate within the game.
Yeah, I mean, like I love the idea of making money, period. And so
we need to invest in some real estate here. But
I know, I hate to say it, but if the world's going to hell, I want the best piece of real estate in hell possible. So let's do it.
This is my thing. So obviously, I have I'm a bit unnerving about buying the land. Like the cheapest parcel that we could find here, what was it, like $5,000, $10,000, something along those lines?
Yeah.
Which seems like it's a fairly large investment to make. And I understand it's an NFT, so technically it can't be replicated, and you do own the parcel of land within the metaverse or sandbox or wherever it may be. But what stops somebody from creating a new land?
Well, this is just it.
That everybody then wants to be in versus the previous.
Yeah, how do we know that Decentraland's going to be the spot to be? What if it's Sandbox, this other one? Or what Zuckerberg's going to smash them all, because all he's going to do is oh, by the way, if you have Facebook or Instagram, you also are in the metaverse.
Yeah.
It'll just be instantaneous.
Facebook land.
That data that they have is, we've been wondering for years, what are they going to do with all that data? Well, they're just going to move us over to this meta space where it'll be automatic. And if ever there was one to probably bet on, it's that one. Because if you are the second or third best area, it's like any other thing. Prime real estate is prime real estate. Do you want to get in on one and not the other?
And this is where I feel like it's going to be similar to what the .com boom and all those things, where right now, as the public starts to look at it, these first few that are in place are going to have a massive run.
Yep.
There's going to be lots of issues when you have mass consumption. Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be companies that step in and create new and improved based on the issues that we've found from these previous systems.
Yeah.
And it's going to absolutely dominate and tank the original accounts that are in there. So Decentraland may become like a MySpace where then Facebook steps in and kills the desirability. That being said, the other thing that I'm considering, and I'm like, this I feel like is a sure thing, is do you look at energy production? Because with all of these systems, computing power,
right,
and all these blockchains, the amount of energy consumption is like we've never experienced before.
I know. I looked into setting up a couple mining devices in my house, and you can't justify it here, not with our Nova Scotia power rates.
Exactly. And it'll consume more power than your entire house and your living existence just to have a few mining machines. And it's going to get to a point where almost everyone's console to just get into the metaverse is going to have to be so powerful that it's going to consume more energy than we already are for an entire household. So for me, in my head, I'm like, well, maybe it's worthwhile looking at energy creation, production.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That might be, and because again, where we're probably a little bit old school, we like our, this universe, we like doing our investments.
That's old school now. Oh, I'm old school. I like this universe.
Exactly. Maybe energy production might be something worth considering.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, we're going to talk about the metaverse more. There's so much about it. It's so crazy. I'd love for everyone to give us a little bit of feedback on what you think. There's things about the cryptocurrencies, how it impacts Ethereum, or not Ethereum, but any of the cryptocurrencies.
Yep.
How it's going to impact our day-to-day lives. Do you see yourself being somebody that would use it? How soon? The other thing for me, the big one is how soon do we see this becoming commonplace?
Yeah, I mean,
Zuck's saying 5 to 10. I'm saying 20.
I just don't know how good are these gloves going to be.
Chandler wants the gloves.
The the adoption rate to me as a layperson who doesn't play video games, it's going to take a lot to get me there, right? I also have a couple kids. I can't be messing around in this stupid universe. I got things to do. However, for people who are already in that space big time, right? Like that's such an easy transition. And children who are raised immediately with their iPads. I don't know what this look is that he's giving me there. It's creeping me out. Kids that are already raised with an iPad in front of them and interactive game spaces, but interactive learning spaces. I mean, even like the math games that my kid does, like you navigate through this little map of math games, and it's a world where you learn math. So they're already early adopters of this technology.
Now, Chandler, do you have any showings tonight?
Oh, I don't. But I know where you're going with this.
What if I said you just slip on this headset, your clients slip on the headset.
Okay, I'm in. I'm in.
And they walk through and you walk through without spending 25 minutes driving each way.
Well, now you're talking about VR technology, though, not necessarily living in a metaverse.
But this is what plays into it.
Right.
It has to be run through a system that handles it all. And also handles, like, you can put all your forms in there and the transactions can be held virtually as well. I
just love human interaction and relationships and social dynamics that I think that's so good for the brain of people.
You're still going to have the interaction. You guys are going to see each other.
No, like you literally can make an avatar that looks whatever you want, and
no, but they're going to start living there. There'll be rules on that. Like if you
rules like your avatar is too hot. You're a stone cold 7. Your avatar is 8.5. That's not going to fly.
But they can start to control that, and even like strength and stuff like that. Like if you can't physically do stuff within the suit, then it might not be able to do it within the world.
Well, then it'll lose all the appeal. I think. Feel like this sucks just as much as my normal life.
You're gonna be able to shake their
going
hand.
to the gym in the metaverse and still not being able to like press 2 plates. That would suck.
You might be surprised that there's gonna be some applications that I think you'll be like, oh crap, this might save me some time, and like you have to go to the lawyer to sign documents.
Well, the evolution of this stuff is super interesting because, and man, like I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember when the internet came along, as crazy as that sounds. Shabakto Freenet was like this dial-up service type thing, and like it was a thing, and it made the screeching noise, and you couldn't go on the internet if your mom was on a phone call.
Yes.
And then to go from that, and this was also the age of like Party Line, where like you could do 3-way phone calls, and like that was a big deal. And then cell phones come along, and all of this to go from there. And even when I was in 2006, when I went away,
Party Line.
When I went away to do my master's in 2006, I was, to try to communicate with my wife who was back in Canada was very, very, very difficult. Like there was no FaceTime. There was like, Facebook had an early version of FaceTime through its messaging. Very unreliable, very grainy, like not good quality. And then slowly from that, even to, again, this advent of doing meetings by Zoom or this software, that's new in the last 2 years, and things will never be the same. I have people now who go out of their way to effectively refuse meetings, insisting that it's on Meets or Zoom. And then I show up at the boardroom like an idiot, and they're like, oh, you're here? I'm like, yeah, I thought like I would come in person. And they're like, ugh. Right? But that's, it has come a long way in a quick period of time, and I don't know, nothing's off the table. But once people start buying it, and like we said, once the energy and attention goes there, the money follows. And people are always looking for these new frontiers, because this is why weed was such a big deal. Because for the first time in a long time, there was a new product.
Completely untouched. Nobody's in that world.
Yeah.
It gave opportunity to so many people.
The internet was the same way. It's like, this is something entirely new. This isn't like a different twist on, this isn't like putting a clock radio in something else. This is that new. And this is that new.
When I was broke, I had rich habits.